Good evening and welcome to IDG Chit Chat Live for the week of June 8th. This evening we are going to be talking about all things DNA. Hi and welcome. My name is Shannon Combs-Bennett. I'm the Creative Director for the In-Depth Genealogist. Joining me this evening are Terry O'Connell, Executive Director, and Jen Alford, Publisher. Hello ladies, how are you tonight?
Good, Shannon. How are you?
Pretty good.
I'm good.
Yay! Thanks for joining me tonight. As you can tell, I'm in a different room because I need both computer screens going for this evening because we decided that we were going to chit-chat a little bit about DNA. We've all done DNA tests. They all have questions. I seem to be the resident expert and go-to person for please help me. So we're going to spend a few minutes going through different results, asking me questions, not grilling Shannon, but asking me questions. And hopefully everybody out there will learn a little bit about genetic genealogy tonight. Sound good, ladies?
Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So Jen actually wrote me questions. So I had a chance to go through some of her stuff. Do you want to start, Jen? You had a couple questions you wanted to ask. Or do
Yeah,
we just want to talk?
Well, I had a lot of questions just because I'm pretty new to DNA. I mean, I understand how family finder type tests work, the autosomal, but I just recently had a mitochondrial DNA test done, and I'm not really sure what to do with it. So I'm hoping you can give me some guidance, and we can go from there.
Right. And you were like, you had and asked me in your question, you're like, I have so many results and I don't know what to do. And I figured I would go out there and there would be hundreds of results. Sweetie, you have 18.
Okay.
I mean, that's not necessarily bad. That's not a bad thing. But one of the questions you did write me is that you had said, my maternal line goes back to Slovakia. Why aren't I seeing more of those matches? Does it only pull through the mother's side? And I think that's maybe where we need to start with what is mitochondrial DNA, because that's true. It is a direct maternal line, is what those results are. So the mother's 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 mother. So, and I have to be honest, that area of Europe mixed and moved, and there are some haplotypes that are more prevalent than others, but it's not necessarily uncommon, I guess, to have different haplotypes from the same region.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, I looked, and you did a sorry, my bangs are in my face and it's killing me. You did it looks like you did a full mitochondrial test, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so, and that's what I was going to say is really good because a lot of people only test, there's a smaller test where you can get one of the regions tested, and they're called the hypervariable regions. There's 1 and 2, and then there's the full test, okay? And hypervariable region 1 tests a portion of what's called the coding area, and it's the part of the mitochondrial DNA which is totally not associated with autosomal DNA, separate type of DNA. It tests one part of the coding region, and HRV2, hypervariable region 2, tests the other part. And it's good to have both of those tested because they didn't used to test both of them. Because when you have the 2 segments tested, it can give you more accurate results. So, for example, when you add HVR1, HVR2 together to test the whole coding region, it can give you a match with somebody, and you can match within, they know, 28 generations. And that might seem like a whole heck of a lot, and it is, but that's a lot better than it used to be, because if you only tested one of them, it was about 52 generations.
Wow.
Okay? And then in and then when you do the full sequence, okay, there's 16,000 base pairs that are tested in the full sequence, and that dramatically drops it down to where you can find a match within a 50% chance of finding a match in 5 generations. So that's why it's important to do
Oh,
the
wow.
full test, because you can go from literally hundreds of matches because you're matching on a very generic time frame,
Mm-hmm.
all the way down to all of a sudden you're with it 50% chance of 5 generations. Now, there's also a 50% chance it could be outside of those 5. But if you're trying to answer a maternal research question, like you want to prove you have a gap in your paper trail, but your gut says this is your maternal ancestor. And if you work through the collateral lines and find a living person who would share that maternal line, if you all match, you all have a common ancestor.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's what you're doing. So you test. That's why I was like, you have you have 18 matches and you did a full. That's pretty good. That means you have a 50% chance of matching those people within 5 generations, which was within the genealogical time frame for paper.
Right, and and I know about.
Oh no, Jen froze.
I think she knows a couple of those people.
I think she might.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah. So for people who aren't sure still what the heck we're talking about with mitochondrial DNA, I'll real quick say the reason it traces your maternal line only is because mothers are the only ones who can pass on mitochondria, which is where mitochondrial DNA are located within your cell. So men don't pass this on, but they contain their mother's mitochondrial DNA. So anyone can take this test, men and women, which is the nice thing.
There's no difference. Like, let's say if 2 siblings took it, it's going to be the same.
Well.
That's an important question because I know
it is an important question.
Very different.
It is. Okay, Jen's back. We went on talking about what exactly mitochondrial DNA is. It's okay. So let me finish this question for Terry, and then I'll come back to you. Okay.
Okay.
So
cool.
technically, siblings and direct line ancestors of the same woman will have the same mitochondrial DNA because it gets passed on, you know. However, there is it's called heteroplasmy, and it's not necessarily a common, it doesn't happen all the time, but mutations do happen in DNA when it gets replicated. And it's not like a bad thing, you know, like oh my God, I have a mutation, I'm going to die. No, mutations, they're random, happen. It helps with the evolutionary chain. And with heteroplasmy, what happens is sometimes you will have let's call it the ancestral mitochondrial, and it's rings. That's why I'm making a circle. You'll have the ancestral mitochondrial, and then you'll have one that mutates. And you'll have them both living in the same cell. So when they're passed on, when a cell divides, it just randomly divides these. So you might have cells that are 100% ancestral. You could have cells that are 100% mutated, or you could have cells that are combinations of the two.
Okay.
So it can lead to some interesting results. At NGS, Elizabeth Schoen Mills did a lecture using DNA, GPS, and the fan principle. And it's where she proved a maternal question. Like she was pretty sure this was the answer, and how she used DNA and the fan and all that kind of stuff. And when she tested her and her brother, she was different than her brother.
Interesting.
She was off by 1. And so that means there is a mutation there. And she'll probably pass that mutation on to her children. And her brother obviously isn't going to pass it on because, you know, that's the end of the line. But everybody else matched 100% to her brother.
So do you recommend that siblings should test, or is it okay just to go with one?
What I'm thinking is, from listening to that and to listening to other people, that if you're trying to prove a maternal question, specifically like she was trying to prove this person was her ancestor, right? She tested her brother just to make sure that they had a pure sample.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And if she hadn't have done that, she would have been, and only used her mitochondrial results, she would have been 1 off from all of the other people she tested. but because they all matched her brother 100%, she was more confident in her findings.
Okay. All right, that's good
So
to
I
know.
hope that makes sense.
It does.
You don't necessarily have to, but if you're going to try to trace one of those very specific ancestral maternal heritage questions, it might be worth it.
Okay, cool.
All right. And Jen, you were in the middle of a question. Or a comment about how you might know those people?
I was basically saying that that's pretty cool that I know pretty accurately 5 to 6 generations back.
Oh, well, that's good.
Hopefully that's going to help me get further back by, working with my matches.
Mm-hmm.
And it also made me realize if you say I have 18 matches, I must not be looking at the right place on Family Tree, on the Family Tree DNA website.
That's entirely possible because you may have been were you looking at your family finder? Because you asked about your chromosomes, and I'm like, mitochondrial doesn't do chromosome browsing. Oh no, she's froze again.
Right. Well, that was a bonus question.
Okay.
That was a bonus question because I did do the family finder as well.
Okay.
But
yeah.
I was actually looking.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you go to Family Tree.
I'm here.
Okay, if you go to Family Tree DNA and you go to the mitochondrial DNA and then you just click matches, it'll bring up all of your mitochondrial DNA matches. And it will start out just pulling up HRV1, but there's actually a drop box there.
Yeah.
Where you can pull up HRV1, HVR2, and full.
Oh, I must not have been picking full.
Okay, so you can select what you want to see.
Okay.
And I'll have to tell you, it's okay, so my dad, I have used my parents as DNA guinea pigs on more than one occasion, but that's what happens when you're an only child. And and my poor dad, the whole reason we started this DNA foray is because he wanted to know where his Combs family came from. That's my maiden name. And he'd always grown up being told they were Scottish. Well, I can't prove it because I can only get back to the 1700s in North Carolina, to the late 1700s, like 1790s in North Carolina. And I know the gentleman was born in Virginia, but that's it. I don't know where the family originated from. And Combs is a pretty common UK type name. You find it all over. It means valley. So, we test it, and my dad has absolutely no matches for his Y DNA. I'll take that back. He has thousands of matches at 12, but nothing over 25. Until his brother tested, and it's good to know that they have the same father. But he's like, okay, well, maybe we'll look at my mom's line, okay? And my father's maternal line is from Bavaria. So we know they're from that area. We know that's where they immigrated from, straight to America. It's straight down, right? He has one mitochondrial DNA match.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. To somebody who is from Sweden.
Go figure.
So it's interesting because some people get buku amounts of results. And then there's other people, and all I got to tell you is it just depends on who tests.
Right.
Because not everybody is testing, and not and those people who are testing nowadays are more likely doing the autosomal test because, one, it's cheaper and it's one of those gateway drugs for genetic genealogy. And then after that, if they have a very specific question that they want to answer, because that's the best way to use DNA, is to figure out a paper trail question you're trying to prove, and then see if you can link through DNA or use DNA to help, kind of like a census record. People will hear me talk about this a lot in my lectures, or I know you guys have heard this, where you should use DNA as a record. It's just like a census record or a vital record. It can help you prove something, but by itself, it's really cool, but it doesn't give you the whole picture. So I hope that kind of helps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
So Terry, did you have a question or something you want me to to explain?
I really don't, because the last time I really looked into the DNA stuff, you and I actually sat for about 20 minutes and kind of, you explained things through to me, and that was probably my last go-round with Y testing, the Y DNA. The autosomal testing I had done through Ancestry. I've moved it all over to 23andMe because everybody said you should. I've done nothing with it beyond moving it.
Right.
But I will say this. I do find it interesting because when Ancestry started putting up the DNA circles, I had no circles. There was nobody that had common trees, nobody that had anything. And it was so funny because as I started going through all these matches, the ones that were closest to me at, like, I think third cousins or more, or third cousins or less, matched on my mother's side of the family. I'm assuming that's where they are because those were the shared names. Obviously, I wasn't looking at any kind of chromosomal browser to figure it all
Right.
out. So I thought that was interesting, that, you can really start to see where these families are pulling together. So
It is kind of cool. And the other thing that I've noticed that Ancestry started doing, and I actually have my Ancestry screen pulled up over here, so pardon my profile, but they have, I don't know if you've noticed, but they have the new ancestor discoveries in the beta testing. Have you seen this?
No, but I haven't been playing on it lately.
Okay, so new ancestor discoveries. I'll just read to you what it says, and I'll kind of go through it because I started playing with it a little bit today. I guess I could share screens and we could investigate it together. Do you want to do that?
Certainly.
Okay, so let's see if I can do this. Share. Do you see my screen?
Sure
Yes.
do.
Okay, so this is about halfway down my Ancestry DNA page, and the new ancestor discoveries beta, potential new ancestors or relatives who are not already in your family tree, which is what I thought was interesting. So they are giving me suggestions of people that, based on my DNA and my data, could be related to me.
That is interesting.
And of course, you can click to learn more. I haven't clicked it yet. So yeah, there you go. Within your DNA, you carry the history and all the wonderful goodness. It talks about the DNA circles, which I have to say, I don't have any DNA circles, and that is because my family has asked me to keep my ancestry tree private.
That's cool.
And so because of their wishes, you have to have a public tree.
Okay.
To have DNA circles. So if you have a private tree, you're not going to show up in any DNA circles.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, and I'm tempted, mostly because my husband's family hasn't put these issues on me, is setting up with his DNA, because we both tested at Ancestry first, setting up a brand new public only, of course you can redact out the living people type of thing, but just to see what it comes up with, because I think it's interesting. So yeah, and it says, once a new ancestor or relative is found, you can see all the facts, events, photos, and stories of your new found relative's life. So I thought that was interesting, and I have 2 people here that it says I'm related to that I don't know about. So I think we should click on one just because I'm curious. Which one looks more interesting?
Joshua Cherry, because he's older.
That's ageism.
Right.
Okay, Joshua Cherry. So it says, I'm related to a group of Joshua Cherry descendants, and because your DNA matches people in the group, there's a good chance you're related to him. So if I was in a DNA circle, I could click here and say, see my connection. But because I'm not, I can't. But it says there's 11 members. So I guess 1818 North Carolina. Well, I had family in North Carolina at that time. But I had no, he went the opposite way of my family. They all went north. So that's going to be an interesting one. So I guess we can click and see what it says. So this information, wow, okay. Yeah, that's what I just noticed. The compiled from 113 family trees.
That's scary.
That's interesting. I want to know what data they pulled. Well, let's look. So there's what they say his life story is. Potential family members. where he's reported as living. So yeah, that's North Carolina through Georgia, Mississippi. It looks like he went up here to, is that Iowa? That has to be Iowa, because that's Missouri. So that's Iowa. Or is that Iowa? What's over here? What's above Kansas? Nebraska. This is a geography lesson all of a sudden.
Yeah, I didn't bring those skills today.
Oh, it shows some records.
Oh, that's cool.
That's kind of cool. Historical insights. So this is that whole new timeline thing you can also do on your page, where it pulls up your personal timeline. So it's interesting. I mean,
definitely worth exploring.
yeah, it's definitely worth exploring, especially since Cherry is not a surname that I know about. So it would be interesting to see. We're exploring ancestry, in case you hadn't figured that out yet, Jen.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. But yeah, so that's kind of cool.
Now, Moody was a name in the cherry tree.
Was it?
Yes.
In the cherry tree.
You know, I totally was not.
That was amusing, actually. Well, let me look. Now I'm curious about her. But I just noticed this morning, so I'm not too sure how long this has been out there. But
See,
yeah, there you go.
They're married.
Joshua Cherry, potential spouse. Oh, God, they had 12 children. Now the thing is, Moody is a surname in my family.
Well, actually,
From about that time frame.
Let's stop and think about this now. It says there that they had 12 children, and their whatever records they're pulling. Under Joshua Cherry's, he had 11.
Yep. That's interesting.
Well,
And she didn't go to all the same places. Huh?
Looks like you'll be playing with some fun stuff.
I think I will be, because that's a little interesting, yeah. So there. And you know how the rest of it works. And I'm very European, if you can't tell from my ethnicity estimate. Very European. Yeah. Do either of you have any more questions, or do you want to see a different? Uh-oh, Jen dropped off. She must be having internet connection problems again. It happens.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah. Because I could also pull up, like I have my 23andMe one up, and I have me and my parents and my husband on it. You will see how much Did you know 23andMe does Neanderthal? And that's just fun because
yes, I did know.
I'm less caveman than my husband.
You are so funny.
Did you have any questions about 23andMe you want me to show you?
I don't really have any questions because I haven't done anything with it.
Well, why don't we explore? And I don't mind Explore using me because
that's fine.
Me. It's my data. So I'm trying not to go to match pages and things like that because I don't want to show on YouTube other people's names and email addresses and things like that. So
that's cool.
Okay, so this is the one that tells me I'm part Asian. Do you want to see that?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of interesting. Okay, so thinking, loading. So there's different drop down. I think I may need to make this smaller so you guys can see it better. There, can you see the whole thing now? Okay. So this is interesting because you can do it in this circle view where if you go into the different rings, it pulls up a different part of the world.
Oh, that is cool.
Or you can do, isn't that neat? Or you can do a split view. And so this is what it says comes from my father, and this is what it says came from my mother.
And it only tells you that because both your parents have tested.
Because both of my parents have tested. That's right.
Now, if I tested only one parent, would it be able to, like, whatever doesn't come from mom has come from dad, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously.
And then you can also do the chromosome view.
Yes.
Which shows, based on my chromosomes, where it thinks that bit of my DNA came from. And there's a lot of blue there if you can't tell.
Wow.
Yeah. But let's go back to the map view because it's easier. And what's interesting, I think, is, okay, so then you also have this. There's regional resolution, which is just like those top parts, like the European, this is I have Middle Eastern, North African, and East Asian Native American. Then there's the global resolution, which goes to, 99% European. Yeah. Or you can do, regional and then sub-regional, which is all the different breakdowns. And then this is speculative. Okay, so this is the broadest of broad calculations for the DNA. You can also do standard, okay, which is their standard calculations, and it's recalculating, loading. And it changes a little bit because it's a little bit more conservative than the speculative one. And then if you go to conservative, it's the most conservative estimate of what your ethnicity is. So a lot of, like my stuff, except for the oddball things. So this is the weird results. This is the only place I get these results. Everybody else has me as 99% European. Family Tree DNA actually has my dad at 96 European, and then 3% basically the Turkey, North Africa area, which I don't have on here. But I keep coming up with this. East Asian. Japanese. Now, it's only 0.1%, so we can probably say it's a fluke and it's not real because I have no idea where it came from. I'm not sure. There was always that grandma said we were related to an Indian princess story, but I've never been able to prove it. Which it does say, East Asian Native American, but I don't know. But when you go to the back to the speculative, it pops. It still says about the same. So it's confident that I have that in there, but it's a teeny tiny little amount. But I just thought that, yeah. But I just thought that was really cool, and here's it says, I'm 0.1% Middle Eastern North African, and then there's, broadly European, Southern European, Scandinavian, French, which I do have 1 line France, 2 lines German, and then 60% British Isles.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool. You can also go, so this is the My Results tab, and if you click, they do a preliminary maternal line and paternal line on your test, but it doesn't give you as much information. You can take, more tests from there. But, if you click on Neanderthal, because it's cool, I'm 2.4%.
Oh, and that's under average.
Yes. I have low brow ridges.
I want to say my brother-in-law came up at like 4%.
So yeah, let's see here. The tools, the ancestry tools is kind of cool. You can see countries, DNA medleys, smart search, haplogroup. If you have multiple, if you can get back to like grandparents tested, you can do this at family inheritance advanced. So it's kind of neat. DNA relatives is another thing where you can then basically see your matches, but I don't want to pull that up because I don't want to show people since I don't have thingy-mabobs. But yeah, it's really kind of neat. It's more fun, I think, than a lot of things. You can also see what this one, download and browse your raw data if you're really into that. Interesting. And there's videos and stuff. You can ask basically, genetics 101 type things. I don't understand. Please explain to me.
Right.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, can you do me a favor? Because I can't do it on my computer. I just tried. Can you pull up my 23andMe?
Yeah. You gave me the login information. Hang on. Let me go find it. Yeah, just give me a second.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll let me and not insist that I But no, we have you saved.
Yeah, right. Mine did that.
Okay, I want to sign in. Don't sign me in automatically. Okay, there we go. That is always the hardest part, you know, convincing somebody not to a thing not to sign you in automatically when you start doing that. Okay, signing in. Do you want me to share the screen, or you just want to talk to me?
You can share it. I just want to see
Okay.
the makeup.
Oh, you want me to do what I showed you with
Yeah.
the DNA composition? And
Yeah.
you didn't test with 23andMe, right, Jen?
No. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Okay. So here's yours. So let's go. It's loading.
Yep.
Loading, loading, loading.
Oh, this isn't me.
That's
That's
somebody else. You can switch profiles. You must have more than one profile.
I have a few, but I don't know if mine's in this one or not.
No, it's right there. Terry O'Connell.
It's still showing up him.
Well, hang on. Let me go back out to my results and we'll start over, okay?
It's, you know what, I probably gave you the wrong login.
You, you think?
Yeah,
Hang
it's
on.
possible. I have so many.
Hang on. I have so many. Yeah. It says it's you, but it's coming up as somebody else.
It is not yet available.
Huh? Oh, your data's not yet available. When did you test, sweetie?
Well, this was uploaded months ago. This is my transfer from Ancestry.
Some of that,
They had issues, right?
yeah.
I'll have to call. Let me make a note.
Let's make a note. All right, Jen,
Yeah.
are you back with us?
I hope so. We'll
Okay.
see.
Do you want to, do you have any other questions or anything you wanted to look at, or do you want me to pull up your account or anything?
Yeah, if you could pull up mine. I didn't do 23andMe. I have Family Tree DNA.
Ooh, get that page going.
I did. I realized what I did. I realized I didn't stop sharing.
I'm like, let me cover that. Ooh.
This is why I don't control the camera.
So, another note. Change all passwords.
Yeah, you should totally
Yeah.
do that because it's just you. Like as soon as we're done here,
Yeah,
change
later.
Okay, so let me find you, and then everybody yell at me before I do something stupid. Okay. All right, back out. Family tree. Log out. Now, I will warn you that earlier today it was taking a long time to load Family Tree, so if it starts getting stuck in a loop, we may
Abort.
abort the mission.
That's quite all right.
All right. Okay. I am not saving your password. Share screen. All right. Here's the screen. All right. What would you like to look at? You want to go down to those matches?
Yes.
Okay. So you go here, mitochondrial DNA matches.
Yes.
Okay. Click. Okay. So at HRV1, you had 19 matches. And that's just for part of the coding region. Remember, that's you have a chance within 52 generations to match those people.
Right.
If I click HRV2, it's testing both of those regions. And so it drops it down to 14.
Okay.
Okay. So that's within 28 generations. And then duck. Okay. It says that you have no
Okay.
full direct. That's probably why I kept getting stuck. I kept trying to reload back to the other one and never did earlier. But so with the full mitochondrial, you have no matches.
Okay.
So nobody has tested at full mitochondrial, So none of these people, well, it says, is it
There's a
right
few there.
here? There's a few there that have. So those ones you don't match. So those ones I would say, unless I'm totally wrong, and if I'm wrong, we're going to hear about it within, 48 hours, I bet. Um, and I'm okay. Please correct me. Yeah. But some of these, that this means they have a GEDCOM uploaded.
Yeah.
So you could
And I,
even go and do some reconnaissance of your own.
yeah, I've done that, and I didn't see anybody that seemed to make sense.
Okay. And then I
But
want to point out, I don't know if you saw this at the bottom, with mitochondrial DNA, and they also have a site for Y-DNA, you can upload to MitoSearch.
yeah, I've done that. I don't know what to do with it though.
That's a whole other program, sweetie.
True.
But yeah, so is there anything else you wanted to look at while we're out here?
Um, Maybe can we look at my Family Finder stuff?
Sure. Family Finder, what do you want to look at?
Let's look at my origins.
Okay. Hey, look, you're Jewish. I'd have never
Oh my
guessed.
gosh! What a shock! What
Okay.
I find what I find interesting is the Spain and like Southern Europe,
Why?
because I don't have any of that in my
Are you sure?
research so far.
But they
Okay.
could have moved.
Well,
Yes.
but I'm also saying it could be, you may not have found it yet, but it may be traces of like the Spanish Jewish colonies that were driven out with the Inquisition.
Yeah, but my Jews were Ashkenazi as far as I know, and so
Okay.
they were more the northern folks, but who
And I
knows?
just keep
I mean,
right, and I just keep
maybe.
reminding people also that Europe was very fluid. People didn't stay in their countries, and countries changed,
Shame
and
on them.
yeah. And the thing is, and with the Southern Europe one here, can I?
Yeah.
There we go. It's this. It can go all the way out into here, right? And so
Right.
this area overlaps with this part of Western Europe. So you see how those two, the purple and the blue, kind of overlap there.
Mm-hmm.
So do
Yeah.
you have any Northern Italians, maybe?
I have Switzerland.
Okay, there you go.
That's
Sorry.
probably.
Yeah, so I bet you it's because these areas went back and forth with migrations.
Hmm.
That's probably what you're looking at. Just through human history and the way cultures traded back and forth and people moving back and forth in those areas. So I'm not necessarily so I kind of had to point this out to other people before that just because it covers that whole region in purple doesn't mean it's from that whole region. It's just that whole region tends to have those same markers. How about that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. But you have Central and South Asian.
Yeah.
Oh, you have this
I
one.
think it goes way far back in my Jewish line.
Yeah. So, yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. Yeah, it's my dad's DNA.
Yeah.
He has the 3% from this area.
Mm.
And it's really weird because I can't figure out where it's coming from. Well, I know it's not from his mother's line because I had my 96-year-old aunt test, who is her only living sister.
Oh, wow.
And she's totally German and Irish, which is what that line was. And
Yeah.
German and Irish immigrant children married. So, done. So it has to be from his father's line.
Mm.
And the weird thing is, with my dad, he has that little bitty bit over here. He has the UK, and he has this part of Europe.
Hmm.
His two siblings have none of that, but have this
Oh.
through this part of Europe and up into the finger countries, as I like to call them. They look like little fingers. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the Scandinavian countries. So it's full siblings, completely different ethnic breakdowns.
Hmm. That is,
But with the paper genealogy, it makes sense because and looking at them, to be honestly, it makes sense. And when I do a chromosome browser between the two of them, like you may to show you this. I will pull it up. If you guys want to talk for a few seconds, and I'll pull up my dad, and I'll show you what I mean. Does that sound cool?
Yeah.
Okay. Back to family tree. Sorry, you guys have got me talking now, and
You didn't want to go have dinner, did you?
I mean, right? She was talking about dinner earlier.
my husband's on the phone with his mom. It could be a while. She called just as we started.
Perfect. It worked out well.
All right. So here's my dad. Let me pull up his origins. Okay, share screen. And actually, it's the same area as you had. I had it off in my head. This is what happens when I analyze too many different people because I've got 16 different people I'm got in my head. So yeah, he has the chicka 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 over here. The 2% right there. And then he has 97%. Come on. And then, so keep that in your head. Let me draw this over here, and I'm going to pull up his sister, and I'm going to drag it over as soon as I get her pulled up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because it's so bizarre. So, like I said, my oh, it's going to make me log out. Damn it. All right, so memorize this screen.
Yes, ma'am.
And I will pull up my aunt because it's just one of those really odd things, and people don't, think about it. Well, if you're full siblings, right, you should be 100%, right? You would think, like, identical.
No.
Well, a lot of people think that. You're smarter than the average bear, obviously.
Hey, boo boo.
That was funny.
I tried.
Okay, origins. All right, you ready? Because this is cool. This is my dad's full sister.
Oh, wow.
His sister and his brother, full siblings, have that as their ethnic breakdown.
Interesting.
Isn't it?
It is.
If you just looked at their ethnic breakdowns, you wouldn't think they were siblings, right?
Right.
So let me pull up. I'm going to turn this off first. Pull this over here for a second. Is everything down? No. Down. Down.
Oh, Jen, change your passwords tomorrow.
Oh.
I was already planning on it.
Because y'all don't trust me.
Obviously, very good reasons you've shown the world.
I did. So hang on. I'm going to pull up their chromosomes to show you. Okay. So this is my dad. Okay. So the orange. No, okay. So this is my dad is orange and his brother is blue, and how they compare to their sisters' chromosomes. Full siblings, right?
Sure.
Yep, they're full siblings. Trust me, same parents. And then when you look at what I think is interesting is my dad and his brother received only one X, right, from their mother.
Yes.
But this is, and my aunt received two, but she only has this little bitty amount in common between the two of them from her mother, from her X chromosome. Now, if you compare like my dad's DNA to his brother's DNA, they're nearly identical. There's a few holes, but not as many. So, and then here you go. If you add in my grandmother's sister, this is how I know what came from my grandmother's line. Anything that matches all three of them is my grandmother's DNA. Well, the DNA she shared with her sister. So because my grandmother's dead, I've had to go through my aunt's DNA, and full siblings on average share 50% identical DNA between them. So I know that if people match my aunt, they're from that my father's maternal line. That's one way I'm able to narrow down matches in the database.
Well, it's very colorful and lovely.
It makes no sense.
But it all starts to get confusing.
Okay. All right. Well, we will close it down. I will close everything. Oh, I don't know what that is. Cancel. Get out. Stop sharing. That's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's interesting. It's exciting. It's what's cool and new in genealogy, right?
Yes.
And maybe someone out there is now a little more interested because they got to see some results and play around with a little bit.
That would be good, or maybe that they just understand a little bit more.
Right. And there's so much to know about this. And I have been scolded in the recent past that I rely too much on scientific explanations. And I am one of these firm believers that to have a good understanding, you don't need a degree in genetics, but you need to understand the basic genetic principles so you understand what you're seeing and why you're seeing it. And I've been told I scare people when I say that.
I don't think that's true.
I don't scare you, Terry.
No. You know what? That one day when we spent 20 minutes, you made everything make a heck of a lot more sense than anybody else had ever made it sound. So.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel a little bit better because, unfortunately, I've read a lot of blogs recently and a lot of recent publications where they've started out in basically the introduction saying, you don't need to know anything about science. Just go out there and everything you need to know is right there. And it's, you only need to have, not even a basic grasp of inheritance or what DNA is. All you need to know is that this matches and this is why. And I'm like, to me, you're penalizing somebody because you're not giving them the full picture. Now, if they don't want to learn it, that's one thing.
Right.
But you should at least make that information available and say, hey, this will make a heck of a lot more sense to you.
Right.
If you take a few minutes and go study a high school biology book.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these principles are taught in high school, not biology now. Basic genetics, inheritance, and why this happens, and what is a cell, and all that kind of stuff. And if people would just go back and review a high school textbook, they would pick up a lot more and not feel like they're beating their head against the wall. But yeah. I'm a biology major, so I'm biased.
So we won't hold it against you for thinking that way.
Can't help it.
You're funny.
Jen, do you have anything else? Because we're coming up on our half-hour mark.
No, I'm good.
Okay, did I help you at all? Please say I did.
Yes, you did.
Okay, good.
I want to go and play around with it, but I really should go to bed.
Yeah, me too. So on that note, why don't we go ahead and sign off for the night? And we are, during the summer, we're going to be broadcasting every 2 weeks, so we will see you in 2 weeks. And I hope everybody has a great time, and God knows what we'll be talking about then, because we don't really know. So, like always, let us know what you think. We look forward to hearing from you. We want to hear from you, and stop by the website, and we will talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.